From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. I am your host, Patrick Berry. We have covered a lot of ground here on this show, and today I want to bring into the studio a state representative from Massachusetts, 4th Hampden District. Kelly Pease is across the desk from me in the 22 News Plus studio. Kelly, thank you so very much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I want to talk. This conversation is not about anything specific taking place at the State House. It's more of an overview for people to get to know you. What it's like to be a state representative, what are some of the things you work on, committees you do, just kind of an overview of being a state rep. So thanks again for joining me. I do appreciate it.
Sounds good.
So first off, how long have you been a state rep?
I was elected in 2020.
Okay.
So I took office on the infamous day, January 6, 2021.
So you're the problem.
Yes. I was in Boston that day. And at the end of the day, and you're just trying to oh, this is great. You're in the moment. You're having fun.
Yeah.
Right. And then at the end of the day, you get the press coming up to you and say, oh, do you have a comment? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
No, the family wasn't there because it was COVID.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So this last year when we got sworn in again, I got sworn in on January 1st. My family could go for the first time. One, it was New Year's Day because it's always the first Wednesday of the year. So they could be there this year. But so I've been in for this is my third term. I just got elected for. So about almost 5 years, coming up on 5 years.
So this is sort of a late in life career change for you.
Yes.
So why did you wait so long? And not that you're old, you and I are the same age. We're mid-50s, late 50s. But why did you wait until your 50s to get involved? Why didn't you do something like in your 20s or 30s?
Actually, I did. I mean, when I was 21, I ran and was elected to the Board of Selectmen in the major metropolis of Chester.
Whoa, okay, all right. Yep, way up there, yeah.
So I did a 3-year term then, and then I decided, all right, I decided to join the military and see where that took me. Well, that took me 20 years for a career, and then I did another few years as a civilian after I retired. But I always talked about wanting to run for. Actually, I used to say U.S. representative, right?
Okay.
Thinking that was easy. When you get into it, you realize that just running for state representative is hard enough, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I always like politics. I'm sick like that, I guess. Some people say.
Some people love it.
I know, I do. I mean, I would stay up on presidential nights like it's a Super Bowl and watch it. I mean, except for in 2000, I did go to bed at midnight like everybody else because they weren't going to call that one.
Well, if you stayed up, you were going to be awake for a few days.
Yes. So I always liked it. And then when I came back to Western Mass, I was looking around because I wanted to get involved, and then I got involved with Senator Humison as his aide, knowing he was running for mayor, and knowing that Representative John Vilas was going to run for state senate, and that was going to open up the state representative seat. So I wanted to get involved and try to throw my name in the hat and give it a go. And it worked out that the people of Westfield, it was only Westfield at the time, liked the hard work I showed during the campaign, and I was fortunate enough to be elected. So I'm very blessed in that regard. So
you mentioned that your district back then was just Westfield. It was the entire city of Westfield, boundaries of the city of Westfield, but it's changed slightly.
Right, because right after that, the census was done. So by the time the 2022 election came around, they had redistrict a little bit, and so you lost a little piece of Westfield over by Ward 6.
Okay. Like East Mountain Road,
right.
Route 20 area over there.
Yep. And then they gave me all of Southampton to make my numbers work because
you got to be the right population.
Right. And it's close to about 45,000 people is who we represent. And not registered voter population wise.
Right.
And it's give or take like 5%. So you can't go out of that range. So they got to make it work and fit it in.
Interesting that you ended up losing a little piece of Westfield, but gained all of Southampton.
Yes.
It's funny. I guess that's how much bigger Westfield is than Southampton.
Right. Well, yeah, Southampton is. Yeah, I think there were about 7,500 people.
Right.
Right. And we sit right 42. About 42. Yeah. Right.
Like that.
So just.
I want to go way back in time. All right. This is an interesting tidbit about your past that probably a lot of people don't know about. You were a child actor.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, it was a great experience. I mean, at 9 years old,
Growing up in Chester, right?
right, Chester. My dad was a factory worker up there, and we took dance lessons with Betty Champion in Westfield,
Okay.
and they would go to the Steel Pier in Atlantic City every summer, and so we tagged along with my sister and my mom, and I mean, this is in the 70s,
Right.
right? So anyways, I was on the beach, and this lady came up to my mother and said, "Oh, because of my red hair and freckles, I was actually cute back then." So they said that I'd be good for commercials, right? My mom's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever, lady."
Right. Oh, yeah.
So we go back to the motel, and the owner of the motel says, "No, you should talk to this lady. She knows people." So my mother got the name and phone number. We go to New York City, meet with the manager. They say, "Oh yeah, you got to get pictures made up. We'll send you out on auditions." And so 10 years later, I got a pension plan with Screen Actors Guild that I will
Wow.
collect someday soon, maybe. I'll get
Wow. That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
It's funny. A lot of people don't think anything happens with people from this area, but that booming metropolis of Chester, one little red-haired freckled kid,
Well, now it's a lot easier, right? I mean, back then it was either you were in New York or LA,
exactly.
right? But now you can be anywhere.
You can upload
and be in. So but I did like 91 TV commercials. I did
Wow.
a movie on PBS that was selected as one of the top 10 movies of the year, and it was a Mark Twain story, an after school special, and I did
That's
a
pretty
primetime
cool.
series where I ended up dying on this show called The Nurse. And
That's all I want. I just, bring me on. I just want to die.
Yeah, that's
I want to play the dead guy at the
Oh,
beginning.
well, after that, I went on an audition for, I think it was Jaws 2 or 3, the movie, right? And they auditioned me for a kid, and it went down to like a couple callbacks, so it got down to like me
You
and
would
a
have
couple
been
other kids,
perfect. You're like the
right? But I was
perfect
going to
New
die
England
again,
red-haired freckled kid.
but I would have died again. And so I'm like, this kid already died once. We can't undo that again. I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny. We're about to run to break, but very quickly, did that help you through life? Like, did it give you the courage and the strength to be in front of people, to kind of do different things?
I think it just gave me the courage to just do stuff. I mean, my mother. I mean, I started going at 9, but at 14, my mother would put me on a bus by myself in Springfield to the Port Authority in New York.
Wow.
And that was in the 70s. And then
Yeah.
I would walk
Port
the
Authority
10
was not a
blocks.
pretty place back
No,
then.
no, it was all porno shops and
Right.
and pawn shops.
Sketchy part of town.
Yeah. Broadway and Times Square was so you just learn to deal with that. I'd stay with my manager all week and went to a private school, and then I'd take the bus home.
Fantastic. Well, we are up on our first commercial break. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios with Kelly Pease. He's the Massachusetts State Representative. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios with Kelly Pease. He is the Massachusetts State Representative for the 4th Hampden District, which encompasses most of Westfield, all of Southampton. Kelly, thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's switch gears now, kind of get away from a little bit of your background to your life on Beacon Hill. So you're a member of you're a member of a number of different committees. One of them is the House Ways and Means Committee. You're on federal funding policy and accountability. The Ways and Means as a whole. You're not just on the House, but you're also on the Joint Committee for Ways and Means. What does that, pardon the pun and language, but what does that mean?
Well, the Ways and Means, obviously, all funding issues come through the Ways and Means Committee. It's known as to be more the most powerful committee in whether it's the State House or the federal government.
Exactly.
It's the committee everybody wants to be on because they control a lot of stuff. And so it's good to be. I mean, like when we first get a budget every year, and then I just had the schedule from this last year, right? We started March 7th at the auditorium with the governor coming to present her budget to us.
Okay.
And then from there we go on a road show like twice a week. We're like in UMass Amherst, Fitchburg, UMass Dartmouth, Arlington, Gloucester.
You're everywhere.
Springfield Technical Community College, which is good for me. It's close, And then we end up back at the State House in the auditorium for an open general hearing to finish up, and then the House puts together their budget, and at the end so that takes about a month.
What does that road show do?
Well, that like when we were at and UMass Amherst, we bring in agencies and departments to pitch why they need their budget and what they need.
Okay, so the governor presents a budget. They might say,
The
these
governor didn't give us
or the
enough
governor
money.
rather.
Right. The governor didn't give us enough money. We need this because of this.
Okay.
Right. So
Right.
like we're at UMass Amherst, that would be the education local aid people coming in and talked about their budget, Executive Office of Education. When we went to Fitchburg, it was Health and Human Services.
So each location is sort of a different subject
thing.
matter.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yep. And so
And you get feedback from basically the constituents and the agencies that receive state funding about what their thoughts are on the presented budget.
On the proposed budget. Exactly. Like there was one mental health facility here. It's in Northampton, and they're one of the few ones that take care of teenagers or children with severe mental health issues. And the governor was going to cut that budget. So when we had that hearing in Attleboro, I asked the question to the Health and Human Service Secretary. I'm like, is this really where we need to cut? Because if we're not servicing these people, then they're going to end up in our jail system, and it's going to cost us more money down the road, right?
Yeah.
And we in the House Ways and Means ended up putting that money back into the budget, so that was good.
So in each of these stops, like you mentioned, as one of the secretaries was in, did each stop have a member of the governor's cabinet in, for lack of a better description?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Their department head, right? Whether it's public safety, one time you get all the sheriffs in there.
Okay.
Health and Human Services, we had department, mental health, children and family. It's across the board.
Okay.
Because we got like environmental and energy, we got agriculture, energy resources, public utilities. They come in and testify and talk about it.
So it sounds like your role on the Ways and Means kind of works hand in hand with one of the other committees you're on, which is Federal Funding Policy and Accountability. It's all money, right?
Well, that's a new committee.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's a brand new committee, and it was set up to see where the cuts might be coming from the federal government and how we deal with it at the state. So it's good because we knew they were going to be cut, and so the speaker established this new committee to kind of look at that and see how the impacts from the federal government are going to be on us in the state. So
looking at your roles on some of those committees and your work on Beacon Hill, what are some of the things that you've presented? I know you've talked about battery storage as kind of a key issue there, and then the education of children. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've presented.
Right. Well, I mean, right. The first term I asked to be on education, higher education, and I was on both of those. And
is it something close to you that?
Well, because we have Westfield State for higher education. Education is because education is one of our biggest, highest property tax drivers, right? So I think the state needs to provide more funding to cities and towns to make sure they can afford them. And right now, like our regional schools, like Hampshire Regional, they're all struggling. I mean,
Gateway, Southwick, Talon,
yeah. I mean, those Student Opportunity Act sounded good, and we did provide the money for it. But the problem is, if they lose population, then what they call them hold harmless, and they maintain the budget. But maintaining the budget doesn't pay for the increases in utilities and repairs and everything. So they end up losing money, and that's what's happening. Then they have to cut programs.
Then our kids get hurt.
Right.
Not getting the education
so we still have
to
fix that because we gotta fix the formula. Because I think we're getting killed out here. So that's why you try to do stuff. I mean, that's my biggest thing is roads, schools, clean water, taking care of our elderly.
So the kind of circling back, so we get money from the federal government. So on this new committee that you're on, does that play a role in bridging the gap between maybe the governor's presented budget shortfalls? How does that work? How do they?
Well, they don't know how that's going to work out. I mean, because when we did the budget, the federal government still hadn't figured out what we're getting. Like right now, the biggest thing is our subsidies. We get a lot of subsidies for the healthcare system from the federal government. When we first established it, we were one of the few states that got a cutout, basically. And so we don't know the impact of that because that could be pretty steep. And of course, with the federal government doing the, they say they're how do you want to say it? Redoing the Medicaid piece of it, where which to me is just saying that if you're here illegally, then we don't pay for your health care. Right. Well, Massachusetts might want to try to fill some of that gap in to make sure that the people aren't
But isn't
otherwise.
that a federal law?
Yeah.
If you're there's certain guidelines
Yes.
about
You're not supposed to pay for it.
foreign people. If you're a I forget the criteria, but there are certain things that
Yeah. If you're
you're
here
here,
illegally, undocumented, then you're not supposed to be getting any kind of
right?
benefits from the state or the federal government. Period.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
And so the federal government's trying to stop that because you're not supposed to get that. Right. Let's take care of the people that are here, the citizens or the documented ones that have the green cards and stuff, and make sure they're taken care of before we do anything else.
Okay. All right. We are up on our second commercial break. We're here with Kelly Pease. He is a state representative for Massachusetts of the 4th Hampden District. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of In Focus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. Across the desk from me, I have Massachusetts State Representative Kelly Pease from the 4th Hampden District. Encompasses 98% of Westfield, all of Southampton. Kelly, thank you so very much for joining me. I appreciate your time. Before we went to commercial break, you kind of alluded to the fact of a couple of things that have really hit home for you. You ran on these campaign promises. It was education, roads, elderly, clean water. I want to talk a little bit more about those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I tell people at this level, I don't think it really makes much difference whether you're a Democrat or Republican, because we should all be fighting for our local communities. And those are the things that, I mean, especially when I ran in 2020, our roads in Westfield were terrible. And the mayor's done a good job with those.
But I got to tell you, you like me, you drive around, you get out of Westfield. West Springfield roads are awful. Chicopee roads are awful. Westfield looks great now.
But in 2020, we were one of the worst.
It was awful.
Right. And the mayor put a lot of the money into the road system in Westfield, so that's better. But again, I mean, we haven't raised Chapter 90 road money for the state to give to the 351 cities and towns in over a decade. It's at $200 million to be divided, and I always say they take in almost $800 million in a diesel and gas tax, and cities and towns get $200 million. I mean, they do divvy up other stuff in like and grants and stuff.
It's interesting because we now have legalized marijuana that's costs taxed at a high rate, and there's a huge investment entry fee to get in there. We now have gaming in Massachusetts, which is taxed. So you've got these two brand new industries within the course of the last decade that are bringing in enormous amounts of tax revenue to the state.
Tax.
What's that?
The millionaire's tax.
Millionaire's tax. So, and roads are only at $200 million.
Yeah. Well, I will say that when I was first in, I would make them take a roll call vote to increase the budget, like from 200 to 225 million, or 250. I tried. Then I tried 225. Right. I make them do a roll call vote where they have to be on record. And I'm like, I don't know how you get reelected if you're not voting for roads. I would get thrown out of office.
Exactly. Right.
And they turned it down every year. And so it's like, but now this year, and I'd like to think that hopefully, because we keep pushing it, that they increased it to 300 million. So
they have to. I mean,
and the other 100 million they added on was done by road miles, which helps, I think, Western Mass more than the other formula. But we need to look at that original formula because it's not helping us.
Well, you think of Massachusetts, it is one of the oldest places in the United States. We've got roads that are ancient, basically, and you feel like some of these you're driving down Roman cobblestones.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we don't have more money for infrastructure. I mean, getting a little local to Westfield, but that's our where we live. The bridge on Route 10 and 202 going over the Little River by South Maple Street. Yeah. I mean, what's that take 7 years to get done or something?
Oh my God, that was it's going to be done here shortly. But they were working on that when I was running in 2020 because on one of the debates that was a question: when's it going to be done? And I think it was supposed to be done in 2024 or something.
But yeah, it is interesting. There's not a lot of money devoted to, or there should be more money devoted to roads. On to a couple of the other things. Education is crucial. you talk a lot about the elderly, and it's not just because we're getting to be that closer to that age,
That's right.
but I will say, as I have aged, I saw my parents age and then unfortunately pass away. You start to see as you get closer to that age group, the needs of that age group.
Mhm.
I know you and I have spent a lot of time at the Westfield Senior Center, seeing
Mhm.
what they're up against, and you think of the elderly. And Tina Gorman, the former executive director, she said the senior centers, it's a 60, 65-year-old
Mhm.
and a 95-year-old. That's a 30-something year
Yep.
difference, and you have to meet everyone's needs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I just turned 60 a couple weeks ago. So
Oh, congratulations!
thanks.
Did you get your senior center card yet?
No, no, I
You
probably
got
should
great
sign
lunches
up.
down there.
Yeah. Um, but you're right. The problem is that, these people pay into the system, their whole life. And some of them, because of the tax rate, property tax rates, are going to lose the home they raised their family in because they
Right.
can't afford to do that, medical and food, so
They have to choose,
right.
which is
So
hard.
and we try to, make a priority to try to give tax breaks to elderly for their property taxes, just so they can afford to maybe stay in the home that they raised their family in.
How's that coming?
Well, we get
Okay.
some credits that have gone into place that have helped, but I think we could do more.
And I know a lot. I think it's a lot of our council on agings nearby
Mhm.
have programs where if as a senior, if you volunteer time, you get a tax break,
Right, and
which is good because as we all know, as you age, you want to stay active both
mhm.
physically and mentally. So that's a great idea.
It is. The only problem is that you also pay into the retirement system, the Empower system for the state, because for your tax credit, because they're paying you. It's kind of wonky, and I got to figure out how to write legislation
Really?
to get. Yeah, because I had veterans that did it to try to get their hours, and they would
Yeah.
work, and then they said, but I only get credited this much money because they take out for I don't need a retirement. I'm already getting my retirement, you know? And it's like, so I need to look at how to get that out of when you're doing it for your tax credit
Right.
that you're not paying into
Oh,
a
I
retirement
didn't
system.
know that. That's
I
weird.
found this out by a couple constituents saying, "Why do we do this?" I said, "I didn't know you did."
We're going to talk afterward. I got to find out who I can get in that hot seat on that topic.
Yeah.
Lastly, and I know Westfield has faced this for probably at least a decade about its water,
Yep.
its the state of its drinking water. A number of our other communities here in Massachusetts and in Western Mass have had the same battles. Where do we stand in Westfield and in the area?
Well, obviously, we got a couple of the GAC filters set up on some of our wells to help alleviate the PFAS that are in those water systems. But I was assigned to the PFAS task force at the State House where we met and try to make some laws or recommend laws.
Hmm.
And so we're trying to implement them now at the state. We've done a couple, but not nearly as many. But the one thing I did learn is PFAS is not just like Westfield. I thought maybe Westfield, Barnstable, because they got an airport. It is
It's
prevalent
everywhere,
everywhere
everywhere,
in the world.
almost in the world. Yeah,
It is
exactly.
because it's in nonstick pans. Anything
It's
fire retardant has PFAS
exactly
material. So when it breaks down, it's contamination.
right.
Yeah,
It's a chemically produced.
right. It's artificially produced,
Right,
right?
artificially produced chemical.
Synthetic,
Right,
yes.
synthetic. Unbelievable. But, well, it's good to know Westfield's on the right track. Kelly, unfortunately, we are running out of time. I want to thank you so very much for joining me today. A fascinating conversation. Next time we have you in, we can get into some more specifics about, what's actually happening on Beacon Hill and some of
Yeah,
the battles that you're facing as a minority member in the state.
absolutely. Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it, Patrick.
Be well, my friend. Thank
Yep.
you.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.